Alright, so I am home and I just remembered that I didn't tell you guys about like what happened. Hold on, I gotta get something from out here. Anyway, so at my job. Okay. Can I do this with one hand? Oh, I can do it with one hand. Oh my god, I can. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god, is it? Oh my god. Alright. Sorry. I'm like freaking out. Sorry, I don't know if you can see. See my horrible cabinet. You see it? It's so unorganized. My refrigerator is organized. This isn't organized. Alright. So let me tell you, my battery's about to die. So let me just tell you, I just gotta mop up this. I'm trying to make apple cider vinegar. Making apple cider vinegar and it's like spilling over. So I gotta figure something out. Anyway, so what happened was at the end of the night, I put in my numbers and I have to do like inventory and stuff like that. So I was doing it fine. No, I can't even. You guys don't even understand. I just gotta push this down. And I realized that I didn't even have all the apples submerged, so I hope I didn't fuck up my batch. Anyway, so this is what happened. So my job, I do like inventory and stuff like that, so I have to count a lot of stuff. And I was working in a department where I was working in a section where I haven't worked there before, and is under a different manager. So the manager came up to me and she was like, "Oh, you don't have to count these items," and she told me the items because I don't know, they haven't been disturbed since the last time. There's no need to count them. So I forget that I don't have to count them, and I count them. I count everything. Like I count everything that's on my list, you know. And I forgot she said I don't have to count it, but I'm still ahead of the time that I'm supposed to count it by. You know what I mean? Like I'm still ahead of the game by like 30 minutes. So I have, you know, I go to the bathroom, all of this stuff. And she comes and she signs off all my papers and stuff like that to make sure that, like, you know, she verifies that that's the amount that's there. Anyway, at the end of the night, after we moving like products and stuff like that and moving them to different stations, she comes to me like after I put my numbers in. She's like, "It's not adding up," and she's like basically cursing at me, saying my beginning count was fucked up for the same item she told me not to count. You know what I mean? Like, she told me not to count those items, and I count them anyway. And she's like, "Oh, your beginning count's messed up." And, like, I don't know how to count. And she's like, "Oh, my God, I gotta deal with these fucking people who don't know how to count." And all this craziness. And me being the person I am, like, I'm crying. Like, I've never, like, she's my manager, and she's, like, basically cursing at me. And not, like, cursing at me like, "You're stupid, you know what I mean?" Like, she's, like, saying, like, "You're stupid." You know what I mean? She's saying it like, you know, the cook that cooked the food, but instead of saying the cook can't cook, you say, "Oh, this food doesn't taste good," or "This food's not cooked right." I don't know. It wasn't directed at me, but it was directed at the stuff that I do, like my count. But she was like cursing and stuff like that, so I'm crying, all this other stuff. So she went to her manager to figure out, because I guess it was this big thing. She went to her manager to figure it out, like what happened. My beginning counts is messed up, but she's supposed to been counting, and she told me not to count them, but I count them anyway. So I'm thinking, like, if I didn't count those items, I would be like way in the water, because apparently they weren't what the number says that it was. Like, it was like 500 or something items, and I counted like 480. And if I wouldn't have counted them, I would have just wrote 500, and I would have been way off. So she goes to her manager with me, still like cursing, and by the time I'm like crying, she's like, "Oh, don't cry, we could just figure this out." She switched it like real quick, because she's going to her manager, and I'm like crying. She switched her attitude real quick, and now she's like all sweet and nice and all of this stuff like that. So we go to the manager, and the manager's like, what are you talking about? She's off by 2, or 2 of them is missing. Like 2 items is missing, and 2 items out of 500 is like so low. Well, it's not like 500, it's like 5,000, but like just imagine like 2 items out of like 5,000 was so low. You know, he's like, what are you talking about? And then I'm explaining to him like my beginning numbers, and how my beginning numbers was off by like freaking like 20 or something like that. So it was like 4,000 like 980. Yeah. 4,980, and it was off by like 20. And if I didn't miss that 20, instead of being off by 2, I'd have been off by 22. And this, like, that's why I was like crying and all that stuff. Is that like she was like being very rude and disrespectful to me, and I didn't feel like it was like necessary. And then like the next day I went into work or whatever, she was like, oh, I wasn't mad at you, I wasn't mad at the situation that happened before you. And I was like, oh my, and it was just like one thing after another. And then she was like, oh, but I didn't mean to make you cry. And then I was talking to like my coworkers, and it was like, oh, you should have went to HR and told her, because not only did the people around, oh, she did it in front of like the people who work under me, like the people I'm in charge of. She did it all in front of them. So it wasn't like, oh, it was a private conversation. She was like carrying on in front of everybody. And that's when like I was embarrassed, I was hurt, and I was like second guessing myself. But I did everything right, you know, like I counted what I counted. And the 2 that was missing could have been like a miss soul or miss sent to a different thing. But I counted everything right, and I always count 3 times. And it just, she blew it way out of proportion. And that's why I was like, yo, I can't record anything like that. I just want to go home. And it took me, this is like what, 3 days later? It took, no, 4 days later. It took me 4 days to calm down. And like every time I tell a story, I'd be like emotional. But I'm not usually an emotional person. This is the fact that like she really was going in on me for, and it turns out it was only 2 that was missing. Like all my numbers was right, everything was right, but only 2 was missing. And she made it seem like I just like lost like 2,000 products and stuff like that, but it was only 2. And I was talking to the manager, and he was like, oh, something like he knew I was crying and stuff like that, and he was asking me what happened. And I was like, oh, I guess it was just a misunderstanding. She thought that I did something that I didn't do. And I didn't like explain it like, oh, how she was cursing at me and stuff like that, because like I'm not the type of person, maybe she just had a bad day, like I'm not the type of person that like ruins someone's, not her, like her life. Like what if she gets fired after like cursing and carrying on the way she did, which she probably could have. But what if she gets fired? Then it's like I'm the reason why she got fired, because she hurt my feelings. And I don't feel like it weighs out. Like her hurting my feelings doesn't deserve to be fired or anything like that. And I didn't want to get in trouble. And now every time I see her, she's always extra nice to me and acknowledges my presence. And that's pretty much it. That's all what happened. But it took me 4 days to like really just, and I'm not an emotional person. I mean, I am an emotional person, but I'm not like crazy and emotional. But basically that was it. That was the whole situation. It just blew way out of proportion. And I'm about to take a shower because I just got home from work and I'm all a mess. Oh, and actually another thing that I wanted to tell you guys about before I forget is I am quitting my second job. I don't know if, I think I'll record some stuff. I'll probably like clip it together if I don't. But I'm like quitting my second job because it's just too much. Like I just got a raise at my other job. My cat's like, anyway, I just got a raise at my other job, and it's just not worth, it's not worth like getting 4 hours of sleep a night anymore. So I'm quitting my second job. And you know what's so funny? I'm quitting my second job, but I'm actually thinking about working at another place. I don't know, but the hours are the same. At this other place, the hours are the same as my second job. So it's not like I'll be waking up at like crazy, like I'll be waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. If I got home at like what, 2 a.m. I don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. I'll just, yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. I feel better.